for today, we are going to do an activity about fine motor skills, mainly, but also it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do. It's a fine motor activity that is usually found in the practical life room, and it is nuts and bolts. So it's a game that you can do with pretty much any bolts and screws and nuts that you have at home. The key is that you're going to have nuts in your container and then a series of bolts like this that are different, and you're going to want them to be different, or else you're going to want them to all be uniform, so they could all be the same as well, and then all of the nuts could be exactly the same, and then that could be one way to do the work. Or you could do it this way where they're all very different and each of the nuts is very different. You can order sets of, bolts and nuts and things like that online. So if you don't have a workroom like I do, where if I searched hard enough, I could find a little bit of everything. So that's where I was lucky enough to find things like this. But if you don't have that, you can definitely find them, because this is an awfully big one. I don't even know what something like this would be for. So basically the idea is that you have different sizes of both, and you have to figure out which one goes on each. So you can kind of make a visual choice. You're going to be making a choice, right? So you have this very large one that's very tall, but you also have this short one that looks very similar too. See, they look very similar. So what you're going to do is look in your bolts, and when you hold them up, you're going to see that some of them are clearly larger than others. So making a choice of what is the largest and what is the smallest might, to the naked eye, not look that hard. So you might say, oh, I think it's probably this one. And it is. So then you can take it and you're going to screw the bolt or the nut completely on. And this is the fine motor part, is balancing it on top and getting the threads to line up, and then taking the time to completely twist the nut onto the bolt until it stops. And this one stops here. It doesn't go all the way to the end. So that's this kind. So then that one is done. Okay, the next one, well, it's this one. Okay, so what you're going to do is line it up and then turn it. Now, there's only one way that it's going to tighten. If I turn it this way, it's never going to work. It's just going to keep twisting. So make sure you test it both ways, okay? It's a little bit hard right now to teach which direction to turn. When I was little, my uncle used to always tell me that it was righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So if you're going left, it was to loosen something, or loosey. And if you were going right, it was to tighten something, or righty-tighty, or lefty-loosey. So sometimes I still do that. When I tighten things, I'll think to myself, righty-tighty. But then you really have to know which way is right. So sometimes if you have trouble remembering which way is right, you might give yourself a visual clue. So what that means is, like, I might say, well, this big bolt I'm going to put on my left side. So I'm going to know that that's the left way. So if I turn it that direction, it's going to come off. It's going to loosen. And if it's this bolt over here, then I know that it's going to tighten. So I'm going to want to twist it towards that one. So giving yourself some visual clues, that means that you're looking at something that reminds you of something. That if I look at the small one, it's getting tighter. And if I look at the big one, it's getting looser. That's a way to remember which way to put it on. Okay, so the next one let's say this one. Looks like this. Let's try this one. Oh, that's not it. It looks like, oh, that was easy. It just went right on, but that means that it's too big. It's too big. Let me try this one. Too small. Even when I go righty-tighty, it doesn't work. So it must be this one. Oh, a square one. It's kind of exciting. Let's see. And remember, I know that I'm turning it towards this side, and it's going on. Now in the video, that'll be different. You'll be looking at it in so don't look at my side of the screen because I'm turned around from you, so it can be a little bit confusing. But that's definitely something to remember when you do it yourself. So then this one goes, we're going to twist it till it's totally on, like that. Okay, now the next one. Now we just learned, right, that this one was way too big for this one, see? So I think we know that it's going to go on this really big one, that it wouldn't go on this really small one, right? So let's try that. Oh, yep. I'm doing this one really fast. Fast, 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 because I know that I have to do it the whole way. And then the last one is that little skinny one, and we just have this really little nut left. It's funny that they're called nuts because we would never eat them. They're not that kind of nuts. Oh, and then I'm gonna go nice and fast. So if we were at school, this was when I would say, you may think you're done now, but you're not done because you have to take all of your nuts back off of the bolts. And this was when you would go in that other direction. You'd want to go all the way in the other direction from what you went before. Takes a long time, because sometimes you might start going in the one right direction and then you might forget and go in the back direction, and then it's all tight again. So just take your time, remembering which direction, lefty-loosey if you choose to say it to yourself, or use your visual clue of which way that you want to turn it to get loose and get all of the pieces off like this. Or and oh, they're very heavy. And one more. And again, just look around your house, see if you have things that this would work for, or look to see if you can order some. And then once you have this container of nuts and bolts, put it on your shelf of things that you can do and go back to anytime, because using your fingers to put those on and to tighten them, it's really making your hands nice and strong. And using your eyes to figure out which size nut goes which size bolt is making for really strong eyes. And the way they get stronger and the way that your fingers get stronger is to do things over and over again. So put your nuts and bolts with your other activities in your buckets or containers that you can go back to anytime, and keep going back to it because it's fun. And then you can also do things like maybe ask if there's a place that you can use a screwdriver to screw in some screws, or, you know, things like that, because that's a lot of fun too. And it does the same types of things. So, which we do have in school, but not a lot of people have the screwdriver boards like we have. But this is something that you might be able to do. So hopefully you'll have a chance to use some tools at home and to practice with some nuts and bolts. Thank you. Bye.